As promised, I'm going to speed through some of the grinding and backtracking in this game, so brace yourself for super speed! Woohoo! Wow, the music sounds really silly. Okay, that was fun. Wish you could do that with, like, Final Fantasy and stuff. Hey, I learned teleport. I went up to the other side of the mountain, found Tornell, gave him the... well, showed him the tornado bracelet that I found in the cave. I have it. Hey, a toboggan outside the inn and icicles off the top. Nice little touches. I like them. Oh, I just talked to you. Sorry. Please don't. That would just be gross. And we'd lose a paying customer. Okay. Ah, that's like the one piece of dialogue in the entire game that even feels remotely close to the way it originally was in the NES version. They made a lot of dialogue changes, and not necessarily bad. The game loses a little bit of the character here and there because of some of the dialogue changes, and the plot is revamped, as mentioned before. But, well, I don't know what I have to say about it. Eyes! Ooh. Okay. Gravity boots. Can I jump this? Oh, yeah, no. Wah. Oh, no! Oh, you poor guy. You're the guy that I kicked out at the... Oh. Well, boo. He's the guy I sent off to his death by talking to him in the Brynmaer Inn Tavern Tea House. Poor guy. And those guards! You're supposed to overhear a conversation. Well, at least in the NES version, you overhear a conversation where they're talking about those villagers, are they working well, that kind of thing, and it sort of builds some character. Oh, these are bad guys! I'm poisoned! So I missed that little touch of dialogue. Good thing I bought an antidote back in town. I think I bought an antidote back in town, didn't I, right? Yeah, sure. I have an antidote. And I used it. Ooh, and that whole "your poison" jingle messes up the music. Like some of the Scourge of Man voice-over things that have happened before. Yeah, medical herb. Okay, add that to stockpile of stuff that I'm probably going to toss later. I use magic to recover my everything. So, prior to coming here, we were back at the village of Leaf, talking to the single bunny that was not abducted with the rest of the villagers who are now slaving away somewhere in this mountain. And the bunny told us about the floating tower? Oh, rock monster! Told us about the floating tower that the people were herded into. In the NES version, the big evil bad guy is searching for the tower, trying to gain entry to this floating tower that was a remnant of history, of civilization before it completely blew itself up. And now he already has the tower. So it's interesting. Just the things that they choose to change in this version. I don't know whether that's more accurate to the original Japanese version, which was called Godslayer and not Crystalis. So, even further changes there. I don't know if it's the translation in this game is more accurate to the original Japanese script. Oh, fun! Oh, well, that wasn't so fun. That was small. Or if they just wanted to make the story make more sense, because again, you need to fill in some of the gaps in the NES version. But that's okay. I like the story that I came up with in my head. I like the... Goodness, I don't know how to speak anymore. Oh well. Hey, cave. We're in a cave. Yeah. They got a wall. So, I can see I've already been through here because of this wall that I blasted. One of the reasons why I don't go blasting walls, as I was mentioning before, just willy-nilly, because I can keep track of where I've been. I usually have a pretty good sense of direction in video games, RPGs especially, have a lot of wandering around mazes. Ah! I don't have any magic to do the thing I want to do, and I don't have much health. Maybe I will use your medical herb after all. I miss... Well, yeah, so I was just saying, I'm usually okay about directions. Every once in a while I'll get lost, but I'm usually not miserably lost. Like, the caves, the tunnels in this game, the overworld has enough landmarks, trees, and different shapes of cliffs that it's easy enough to keep track of where you're going there, but caves, tunnels are really tough to keep track of where you're going. Which is why some of these extra little touches, the torches, the stalagmites, the stalactites, a couple of other random things you find lying around here and there, they're nice additions because they help it from being just plain wall. But at the same time, there's something charming about plain wall. Oh, I am also running low on health again. Oh, these guys are so much easier to fight using the Sword of Fire. You can't use the Sword of Fire in the original version. You need to chip away at them with the Sword of Wind. Yeah, almost. I can do this. I can do this. Come on. Come on. Yes. Ah, by the way, contention about the pronunciation of the game's title. Because it was Godslayer in Japanese, and it's Crystalis, or Crystalis, or Crystali here in the States, from where I'm playing this. It's not like you can just say, oh, well, what was it in the original Japanese version? Well, I guess maybe you can see how they pronounce the big magical sword, the titular sword of the game. But if you look at the commercial that was released, that aired on television for this game, the announcer says Crystalis, pronounced as such. Although that's sort of a funny TV advertisement because there's a guy dressed up kind of like the hero appears, actually more like he looks on the NES box art, which is pretty close. And he goes up against this, like, gargoyle dragon thing and gets turned to stone. Like, it's no gameplay. It's just a dude dressed up in, you know, cosplay of the character and then has an ill-fated battle and gets turned to stone. Go play Crystalis. You'll be better than this guy, is basically the message. Villagers. Different villagers. In the original game, oh, stuff. Antidote. What is that doing back here? And who is putting things behind these walls and just hiding them there? Yeah, different people. You had the nice townspeople in the one cell in the NES game, and then you had the bunch of ungrateful hooligans in the other one. And now we have Key to Prison. They change things, just little things, and I don't know if it's for the purposes of space on the cartridge, that they can't have as many people roaming around, or if they just wanted to be different, or if they couldn't think of any worthwhile reason to have that many people to talk to and could just condense it into, like, 2 people. I don't know. There's a lot of strange, small differences, in addition to some of the larger ones, like the sword affecting all of the enemies instead of just one. This looks like a boss battle room. Well, aha! There you are, General Kelbasque. Yeah, I can hit him with the Sword of Fire. You should not be able to. He should only be vulnerable to the Sword of Wind, but I'm gonna try on my new Tornado Bracelet! Hoo-ha! It's good, powerful, uses up better when I aim it at him. Did I just jump over those things? I can't jump over axes, but these little flying beetle bits I can jump over. What am I doing? I'm gonna recover my health. Yeah, that could have been bad. Just standing around healing all day. Okay, yeah, take that. Okay, so here's another line that's basically unchanged, that whole, don't think you've seen even a fraction of my power. I don't know why, I always like that line. Let's get a key. Yeah, so that whole thing about, and the whole level 2, level 3 thing that I probably lost everybody who was listening to me talking about previously. In this one, if you can't mismatch bracelets, I'll talk about that more in a second. Let's read what the head of the village has to say. If you can read this fast, I'm sorry. Okay, so we save the villagers. Hooray. They'll somehow find their way back to the village and survive all the monsters that are in the cave. I should probably escort them. And I am rewarded with the Paralyze spell. Paralysis spell. Excuse me. Paralysis, not paralyze. Ooh! Level 3 Sword of Fire. Kaboom. Yes. So, the bracelets. In the original, you can mismatch the bracelets so that you have, like, the tornado bracelet for the Sword of Wind equipped when you're using the Sword of Fire. Blam! Take that. And there's paralysis for you. Very good. I don't think to use it often. I don't think a lot of people think to use it often. There are a couple of really annoying enemies where I should have used it later on. In case you didn't figure this out, adding commentary on top of this after having played through the game. So paralysis spell. Good, useful, helpful. But just not frequently used. Sort of like those Mega Man special weapons that you're like, oh, this is cool, like Power Stone in Mega Man 5. It's like, it's good, but what do I do with it? But if you start playing around with it, you can find some really good uses for it. But I'm not going to show you that too much. Oh well. But the bracelets, you can mismatch bracelets in the original version, and accidentally limit yourself to just... Everything's so expensive. Limit yourself to a level 1 charge if you have the wrong bracelet on the wrong sword. Here, in this game, it automatically switches to a different bracelet, different sword, if you try to mismatch them. I want to hop in the boat! I don't care if I have to paddle it with my shield and sword, I can do this. Oh, it's a boat rental shop. I'm not going to rent this boat, I'm just going to use it later. No renting. Okay, so I talked about the differences in plot and dialogue. This town, this whole area here, I think benefits the most from the changes. This is different. This whole layout back, the water tunnel behind the shops here, that's all different. I'll talk about that later. But the dialogue, the story through here, is more streamlined, Fortune Teller's Place. And it makes more sense here. There is sort of a plot hole. Or there is, because it didn't cease to be because of this game. There is sort of a plot hole in the original game. Stop blocking my way! I want to go see the Queen! There's sort of a plot hole in the original where... I hope this isn't a spoiler. Cover your ears for the next, like, minute or so if you haven't played this game yet and want to see the surprise. But the Queen is not really the Queen, it's one of the wise men in disguise. So... There is sort of a plot hole in the NES game. The Queen, you're like, oh, okay, great, we've unmasked you, you are one of the wise men. You were there the whole time. Where's the real Queen? Like, they don't really talk about where the real Queen is. Did Portoa build a palace and never bother to install a Queen? Or is the Queen dead? Was she kidnapped on vacation? This version of the game actually explains what's going on with the Queen. It does a nice job explaining it. So I approve of that tweak, the overhaul, the adjustment to the story. We'll do a little bit of exploration, a little bit of fighting, a little bit getting stuck in the butt with an axe. Don't need that. That's what happens when I turn my back on things shooting at me. Yeah, every once in a while, I accidentally turn the wrong way when I'm trying to attack something or dodge something. And if anyone's curious, as I mentioned, playing this on an emulator, the controller I'm using is, let me see, oh, I can open up my drawer and make sure that I get it right when I read it off to you. It is a Logitech Cordless Rumble Pad 2, which, you hear that? That's my drawer, opening and closing just for you. The Rumble Pad. Comes recommended. This is not a paid advertisement or anything like that. I've been using this wireless controller for as long as I've been making videos, which at this point is a couple years now. And it's never steered me wrong. Great battery life on it. Very precise, very comfortable to my hands. It's a great controller. Only problem is that playing Final Fantasy VIII on the PC, there are some sections that require a lot of button mashing. And kind of burned out the attack button with the button mashing. Didn't totally burn it out, but it sticks sometimes. So button mashing to try and defeat Stom earlier in the game is more difficult than it should be because the button gets a little sticky sometimes. And the multi-directionality is good. It's not quite as precise on this controller as... Oh, another special river crossing to come back to later. It's not quite as precise. I don't even know what these enemies are. They just don't look like anything to me. Crab things? Little dancing people? Funny, oversized ears? Like, what are they? But the controller's not quite as precise on the diagonals as the NES controller, but it's really good. So I recommend it, if they still sell it. Bust down a wall. This next part makes me sad. It makes me slightly sad. So here's a treasure chest. You can tell there's something wrong with it. It's not a normal treasure chest. Ow, it bit me. But in order to get it to start jumping up and down and attacking you so that you can kill it and take lots of moolah from it, you need to activate it like you're opening any other random treasure chest, and then it attacks you. So you can tell it's obviously a bad treasure chest. It's got those evil eyes on top. But you need to willfully open it before it attacks you, so you have to take damage. These people have been turned to stone. Back out in the field. I should find something to take care of the people getting turned to, or having been turned to stone, because they're blocking my way. Of course, there are other places I could explore here. Haven't been everywhere yet, but that's where I want to be next. Ooh, I like the color swap on those little creatures from the first cave. There are some palette swaps, and fortunately in this game it's not simply this enemy's a different color and it's stronger, but they also have extra special attacks that they didn't have when you saw them previously. Sleep. 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 Greetings! Oh, yay. Wow, news travels fast around here. People, like, teleporting? How do they even get from town to town? There's monsters everywhere. Sleep. I won't try anything tricky. Sleep. What? Door is locked. That's bogus. Alright, keep wandering around a little bit. Let's go to the fortune teller. I'm not using my telepathy spell, so I'll get advice from the fortune teller. Aha, the queen is waiting for me. I just talked to the queen. Did you, like, forget what you were going to tell me? Oh, well. Oh, I am insulted. I figured out the secret, I can't do it. Whoa. If you've played or seen the NES game, Dolphin, if you've played or seen the NES game, this area has been completely redesigned. Well, not completely, I mean, it's still got water and dirt and walls, but this, well, it's kind of boring now, actually. I'm kind of disappointed. And this is a dead end. There used to be 2 doors here. You'd walk through here and into the next place. That's a downgrade. Here's our explanation about the queen. The queen was kidnapped, or something, turned to stone. Yes, she was turned to stone. Yes, that's what happened, yes. And so here's the flute that I will take to restore the queen to softness. And then she'll queen again. And the wise man will... The wise woman will do her thing, being a wise person. I've got my eye on you at all times. I completely didn't notice that you just walked behind me out of the door that was locked, that I was guarding. Yeah, speeding through here because you've seen all this before, and it's not all that different. And the music's fun. It's fun to see you run around like this. Okay. Okay, serious. Less with the bouncy. More with the fluty. Fluty pebbles. Breakfast of champions. Ooh! The little color, like the vibrating color. That's cool. I hope your handmaiden can, you know, kill beasts and stuff. We just assume these people can make... I mean, I guess you can play through the game dodging everything. Like, you can... Oh, I'm not falling for that. You can't even attack it without activating it. Oh, well. Okay, I'm gonna fall for it anyhow. I want the coins. I suppose you can go through the game avoiding basically everything, if you really want to, but... Especially in the NES version, where some enemies and bosses probably all enemies and bosses. I haven't tested this extensively, but I would just assume anything after the first round of enemies that you come across. You can only damage when you're a high enough level, have a high enough attack power. These guys turn you to stone. This is always like one of the tensest parts of the game, because getting turned into stone, like polymorph transformation stuff, really is like at the bottom of my list of things that I enjoy happening to me in an RPG, especially one like this, because it's like basically instant game over if you get turned to stone at this point. Ugh, Medusa, scary things, creepy. Woo! Yeah, so you can probably get through the game dodging everything, but honestly, it's better, I find, especially in the NES version, where you need to be a certain level and can't just breeze through it like you can in this version, to stop and fight every single enemy, unless you are so down on health that it's just a tremendous risk to fight instead of fly away, run away, teleport away, scurry, flee. Because that way, if you slow down to stop and fight every enemy that you come across, you need to spend less time grinding in the fields later, just refighting the same couple enemies. If you stop for every single enemy, as long as you've got the health to do it... I'd wreck the music again. I think. Sorry, I wasn't listening very hard. Ah! Splord of Waiter. Okay. So I am now being directed on my quest. It's not just explore until you find something you haven't done yet. It's go this way. So a little more structure, a little easier to find out where you're going in this game. But still, I kind of like figuring out some of this stuff for myself. There's a joy in exploration. Level 1 Sword of Water is good, but because it doesn't have a monopoly on damaging some of these enemies, yeah, it's just flavor at this point. You don't really need to use it. You're better off with Sword of Fire, level 2! Hooray! Again. I think I almost finished my thought. Yeah, so just fight every enemy. You don't need to spend as much time later grinding. It's slower progress through each area. I would rather progress slowly through an area, but still constantly make progress than march in somewhere, go back out to the field, fight, don't do anything but fight, and then go back in and, like, start the game over again. It's one of the things I like about Chrono Trigger, is that if you're starting a new game, yeah, you can do some grinding, but if you gain 1 or 2 levels grinding in Guardia Forest at the very beginning of the game, like, seriously, 1 or 2 levels, you are pretty much set for the entire rest of the game to just play through each area and not need to go around in circles fighting the same enemies. Pretty good stuff. Alright, we're just about done with this cave. I've dragged you along in. You're like the passive observer who's just behind me off camera. We're just about done with this cave, but oh no! This poor unfortunate person who we've seen before. Previously he wanted his statue, now he is a statue. Be careful what you wish for. Let's see if we can turn him back... No! Let's see if we can turn him back into person meat. How convenient! A fruit of rhyme. A flute of lime. Which doesn't look anything like the flute they have in the NES version. They completely changed the icon. I don't know why. I missed the other flute. Well, it's like a ocarina kind of a flute. A shell flute. We'll see later. Yay! Increased shield power. Yeah, this one, unlike the NES game, if I recall correctly, doesn't double your shield power. It increases it by 1 point per level that you are. So not quite as strong and powerful, but still good. Yeah, let's get out of here. I'm just fumbling on the menu, I'm sorry. Teleport away.